We have DraftKings contributor Geoff Ulrich in the house, as well as Jason Sobel from the Action Network. Before, though, gentlemen, we get to your best bets for this week's Wells Fargo Championship. Jason, Jon Rahm was a huge favorite last week, went wire to wire in Mexico. Kind of a similar situation, too, when you look at the odds this week with Rory McIlroy so heavily favored. So how does last week maybe factor into what you decide to do this week?
Yeah, so Emerson, for those people out there who are watching who don't necessarily bet on golf, I can tell you it's just this easy. The best player in the field has the shortest odds, but he goes out there and leads after every round and he wins. Then you collect your money on Sunday evening. It's super easy to bet on golf. Yeah, I mean, Jon Rahm, easiest call of the year, I guess, even though he's a super short number. But no, I don't necessarily see the same value in Rory McIlroy this week, even though he's coming off that 64 in the final round of the Masters. That was his last competitive round just about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so he's played well in the DC area, maybe some vibes from his first career major championship title in 2011 at the US Open at Congressional. So that helps a little bit as well. But I don't see the same value in Rory this week that we saw in Rahm last week.
Yeah, and Geoff, like Rory's past success here has come at Quail Hollow. We talked about it yesterday on the show. This is a whole new golf course. Where they at? TPC Potomac. And then you also mentioned yesterday that you maybe like a wire-to-wire bet plus 1,200 for the winner.
Well, I mean, I think if you're interested, like, again, it kind of comes down to which side you're on. I mean, I kind of agree with Jason. Like, we were kind of due for maybe a Jon Rahm blowout win. It just happened to happen when he was at plus 350, which really, sucked because it's almost unbettable at that number. But, Rory is not really a player I necessarily think that is going to dominate to the same extent. He hasn't played in like 4 weeks. He really, outside of that one Masters runner-up finish, which he needed to chip in at the last hole to get, he hasn't been in as dominant form. So, yeah, if you're looking at Rory, like the wire-to-wire winner bet is something you could think about for sure. If you're looking for a repeat, it's plus 1,200. At least you're getting better odds than plus 850. But for this event, I also think that the course is going to have a little bit more to say too. It's a little bit of a quirkier course. It's tougher in a lot of ways. And I think that will just bring more people in and make it less likely that we're going to see a wire-to-wire kind of thing.
Yeah, next closest guy here, Jason, as we're looking at the odds on the screen, I mean, Corey Connors, plus 1,600. He's been a busy dude this season. Tyrell Hatton, Fitzpatrick, Henley, Leishman, all plus 2,000. Who stands out to you in this group? Is there one dude who's a better bet than the others?
I love everything about Corey Connors this week, except for that short price, man. I was hoping for something in the low 20s, maybe even mid 20s this week. And instead we get 1,600 plus 1,600 on Corey Connors, who still only won once on the PGA Tour. That happened a few years ago at the Valero Texas Open. And yet this setup should be perfect for him. I've heard that it may play like a US Open light. I don't mean that it's necessarily going to be that brutally difficult, but it's not about hitting 320-yard drives. This is about keeping in the fairway, and then it's a second shot golf course. I know some people might look at the yardage, 7,160 yards, and say, oh, it's a short course, so you don't need to bomb it out. It's not necessarily that. There are a lot of long par fours. Even the 2 par fives on this golf course, the par 70, play longer. And so you're going to see players with a lot of mid to long irons into these greens. That's Corey Connors' specialty. One of the more underrated ball strikers in the world. I think he's at least top 10, maybe top 5 with those irons, except apparently he's not underrated as far as the traders at DraftKings go, because 16-1, boy, again, I love everything about him, but that number is just so short.
Yeah. Geoff followed up a T6 at the Masters, though, with the 12th place finish at the RBC Heritage.
Yeah, I mean, it's potential that, we just get Corey Connors coming in and just striping the ball all week and maybe takes this thing. But I think the main theme with the guys at plus 2,000 and under is that I would just rather avoid them and bet the guys at plus 2,500 or bigger. I just don't think there's a big difference. You're talking about guys like Gary Woodland and Paul Casey at plus 3,500 versus this group at plus 2,000. The most prolific winner of the guys at plus 2,000 is Leishman. But Leishman's also been in the worst form of them. So, you look at them, like if Henley was at plus 3,000 or better, I'd like him. If Connors was a little bit bigger, I'd like him too. But otherwise it's kind of just a group that I want to stay away from. As Jason said, the traders at DraftKings this week just seem to say we're not getting beat by this group of people. So they kind of put them at shorter odds. I like the setup for Henley. I like the setup for Connors because those guys can really get hot with their mid irons and long irons, but I just don't think that the number's quite big enough to bet them on the outright.
All right. So Geoff, hook me up with someone then you're confident fading this week, who maybe the public could be on.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like a straight up fade, I mean, I'm fine fading Patrick Reed. I know the number is still big. But I just feel like, the ball striking with him isn't quite there. And it's not even so much a knock against Reed. I just look at the odds down there. And I think, Gary Woodland at plus 3,500 is a guy I'm really big into, especially if you can get that number. You could even go down to like a Keegan Bradley, but I think Reed is someone I'm fine fading for one more week here. He's starting to put it together, but I just think that with this, the way this course is going to play and just with the emphasis on iron play, I'm just not sure if Reed is quite striking it well enough to grab a win.
Yeah, Jason, is there someone that you think people should proceed with caution here when it comes to betting them?
Yeah, I'm guessing this is a universal fade, Emerson, but Paul Casey is just too dangerous right now. His last two starts, he went to the match play. He teed off in the first match, then said, no, I can't do it. My back's hurting, and eventually wound up withdrawing from the event. Masters, same thing. He played in the par 3, I think, the par 3 contest the day before. He was ready. He was there. He was available. And then after lineups locked, by the way, for DFS, he decided, you know what, I'm just not healthy enough to give it a go. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me a third time. I don't know. Look, unless you're just trying to be completely contrarian, Paul Casey is a red light for me this week. And then I look at plus 5,000, 50 to 1. Jason Day and Webb Simpson are essentially two trains heading in opposite directions. Webb Simpson has not had the best start to his year so far, but he was injured. He told me a couple of weeks ago he's healthy now. He can start preparing and practicing for events the way he needs to. Jason Day, I mean, until we can figure out what exactly is going on with Jason right now, he's a fade for me for the long term until we start seeing some better results.
All right, this also feels like, Jason, like one of those weeks, again, similar to last week where Geoff, we talked about it, long shots were like kind of the guys to target. So which ones are on your radar this week?
Okay, so two things. I've already gotten on the DraftKings traders, and I know they're going to be mad at me already for bashing the Corey Connors price. I'm going to get on them twice more right here. One of my favorite long shots coming into this week, did my research Sunday night, started looking, okay, he's won in the DC area before back in 2015. When this event, or not this event, but when the Quicken Loans previous event was held at TPC Potomac 4 years ago, finished in 17th place, last two starts, a 4th place, a 12th place. I love Troy Merritt. And then the numbers came out on Troy Merritt. He's at 35 to 1. He's the same number as Sergio Garcia, as Gary Woodland, as Abraham Ancer. What? Come on. Are they? I don't like the fact that the traders are in my brain, but I've got one on them, Emerson. My favorite long shot this week, I'm telling you, he's very, very long. He's so long, he's not even listed in the DK Sportsbook right now. Maybe that'll change, but Eugenio Lopez Shakara. He is the 4th ranked amateur in the entire world amateur golf ranking. Plays at Oklahoma State, just announced he's going to return next year for a 5th year. He was already 3rd on the PGA Tour U standings. If he had decided to come out of school, he'd get his Korn Ferry card right away. I've been told he's one of the best ball strikers around with a tour-ready game, all ready to go. Some other book out there, and I'm not looking around. I don't have an eye that I'm looking, but somewhere else I saw him at 650 to 1 this week. I don't think he's going to win, but top 10s, top 20s. Love it.
Okay. Wow. Geoff Ulrich. That's a very Geoff Ulrich selection there by Sobel.
Well, yes, but no, I like that. Hey, maybe we should email the DraftKings Sportsbook after and see if we can get some odds up on them. Okay. But yeah, Troy Merritt at plus 3,500. That's obviously, it's just a ridiculous price. Been playing good, but when guys are priced down like that, tends to be just a good stay off. I'll go a little bit more mid-range since Jason has gone like top and then bottom. I'll try and sandwich in between here. A couple guys in the 1,000 or the 10,000 range here. I mean, Brandon Wu, I think, is a great young player that is doing things the right way, and by right way, I just mean he's hitting the ball really well. He's getting a lot of top results through his ball striking. He's over 10 strokes tee to green last week. And then David Lipsky at plus 10,000 as well. You look at the winners of this event at TPC Potomac, Molinari, Kyle Stanley, they're really not big hitters, but they're guys who are just hitting their irons really well. Lipsky led the field in strokes gained approach last week. This guy was really good on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. He's won on the European Tour as well. He's 33. He's American. He's used to playing here. Like I think David Lipsey's a guy who's going to win at some point. And I'm thinking the setup was just the way he's playing may actually be better for him. And then one other player I'll throw out, a guy I always like to bet on, Doc Redman. Game's starting to come around a little bit. The approach game is there, plus 15,000. I love the top 10 on Redman this week at plus 11,000 or plus 1,100 there. Excuse me. Definitely one of my favorite players to chase down in the odds.
Jeff, you're a Redman guy too. I thought I was the only guy on the Good Doctor every week. No. I'm glad to see we're in
he sucked me in with all those big results early in his career. So I mean, I'm staying on him. But it's good odds. It's a good setup. He shot 64 here in 2018, the final round too. So.
And Lipsky gained the most strokes in the field with the approach game last week in Mexico. So that's a good. Yeah, that's a good pick there, Jeff. Jason, before you skedaddle, dude, hook me up with your pick to win the Wells Fargo Championship this week.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. I mean, if it's just one pick to win, I get it. The odds are short, but Corey Connors just primed to go out there and win. He's essentially too good. I'm looking for that oxymoronic term we always talk about, positive regression. I'm looking for Corey Connors to finally get that second PGA Tour win that, quite frankly, he deserves because he's good enough to be a top 20 golfer in the world. I think he'll get close if he wins this week. And so, again, I hate the number, but I love the player this week. And so if it's just one guy to win, I'm going Corey Connors. Then I'll sprinkle some other outrights in the 80 to 100 to 1 range, just offsetting him a little bit.
All right, Jeff, can't sleep on your fellow Canadian there.
No, but I am. I'm going to go Gary Woodland. look at those units. But I'm going to go. Yeah, I love the odds on Gary Woodland this week. Plus 3,500. He's plus 2,200 last week. The approach game is clicking. He's been really consistent with that. T22 last week, that's fine. I think the tougher course will help Gary Woodland this week too. Obviously a US Open winner. So really like that number we're getting on Woodland.